let's look at how equity markets around the world are doing. Positive cues coming in this morning from markets.
Thank you,
Amit.
Suyash. Positive cues and how everywhere. S&P 100 notched its best day since April this year. It was up 1.9% almost at 4,317.78. Dow Jones saw its best session since June, up 1.7%, and that was at, closed at 33,839.08. Nasdaq Composite posted its best day since July, rising 1.8%.
Wow.
And that was at 13,294.19. Now we move to the European markets. They also did well. Ended 1.6% higher. All sectors were in the positive territory. Nikkei, which is closed today, basically closed at 1.1% higher yesterday at 31,949.89. Hang Seng is up 2.07% today.
Wow.
And it stands, as we speak, it stands at 17,586.78. Now, along with this, I presume, as we were talking yesterday, the mood that the Fed rates have topped out is translating into the mood in the markets.
Right.
Probably, that's my gesticulation. Now, two big companies in the US.
Right, Apple and Starbucks.
On the opposite sides of the spectrum, posted their results yesterday.
Right.
I'll come to Apple first. Its revenues have dropped for the fourth straight quarter, and Apple is going through its worst slump in 22 years.
And why is that?
It's basically on the back of decreased demand in China.
Oh.
And while the iPhone demand has gone up, Mac is facing pressures or demand pressures.
They have not even launched a new Mac, if I'm not correct. If I'm not
They
wrong.
update the softwares constantly.
All right.
We both have
So
that.
not
we see
focus
the-
is not on laptop
on
clearly.
laptops clearly. But China, which was a major market, and what China has done, they have barred iPhone sales in some workplaces. That is one thing that has hurt Apple.
Right.
The other thing is Huawei is giving them fresh competition with very competitive phones in the China market.
Of course.
So the deceleration in China is worse than actually Apple had accounted for. So there will be going back to the drawing board. I'll just come to the numbers briefly. Revenues fell to 89.5 billion this fiscal and ended 1% lower than the last quarter.
All right.
The street was expecting 89.4 billion estimate. Apple did enjoy 43.8 billion in iPhone revenue, and services revenues revenue from services drew 22.3 billion this quarter. Now, the China region, let's come to that. The revenues amounted to 15.1 billion, well short of the analyst expectations of 17 billion. So that is almost 2 billion less than what the analysts were expecting.
So degrowth on a quarter-on-quarter basis for the last 4 quarters.
Yes.
And how is
the
Starbucks?
worst slump? And just the stock. In anticipation, the stock had risen 2% ahead of the results.
So it came, I think, after the market hours. So only the stocks, the market will only get to react
today.
Today.
But the stock has been up 32.5% this year. So despite
so 2023.
Yeah, 2023. Despite all these downturns, Apple stock is basically on the rise, which is one of the factor terms of the stocks in the US markets. Coming to Starbucks, this has posted results stronger than expected. We have an Indian CEO there, Mr. Narasimhan, and I will just quote Mr. Lakshman Narasimhan, and I'll just start with a quote from him as he announced the results. As we enter the current year in the face of macro uncertainty, we remain confident in the momentum throughout our business and headroom globally. We expect sustained momentum throughout the company in the coming year, despite the uncertainty are the operative words.
And especially I think now that we are entering into the festive and the wedding season, so to say, the festive season drags, I think, till January in US markets and in global markets. So that
Christmas
will definitely help demand.
Demand, big time. And analysts were predicting a 97% per share rise. The company's earnings have reported a $1.06 dollar per share earnings, not 97 cents. So it is more than what the analysts were expecting.
Right.
Revenue was posted at 9.38 billion for the quarter just ended. Global sales jumped 8%, driven by 4% rise in average consumer check and a 3% rise in transactions. Sales in North America jumped much more, 8%, and transactions rose 2%. So what analysts were expecting way ahead is what, and they are due to announce a new strategy in their marketing mix, which is yet to come. They had a meeting post their announcements yesterday. Let's anticipate what's happening, what's coming.
All right. I mean, I'm looking at the numbers. The market have definitely, at least the US markets and the European markets are on a strong footing. I was also looking at the future pricing, Amit. As you rightly mentioned, Apple results did come out after the market hours. So the market did not get time to react to the numbers. But I'm looking at the futures numbers. They are trading slightly lower. Dow, I think, is down 0.3%. Dow futures. S&P futures are down about 0.2% overall. But I mean, Apple being a heavyweight, I think it will have some sort of impact, but the overall market mood, from what I understand, is exuberant, given that it seems that interest rates for now have topped out, and I think that is a factor that is driving Asian markets as well. I'm also looking at some of the other cues that we have been tracking here on First Take. The bond yields, Amit, in the last couple of sessions since Fed decided to hold the interest rates, they have corrected by about 27 basis points, from 4.9% to about 4.63% now. Brent crude, on the other hand, which had declined, had softened from about $90 odd to about $85 in the last 5-6 sessions or so, has increased by about 1% or so overnight, and it's currently hovering around the $87 a barrel mark. Now this is Brent crude. The dollar index, on the other hand, is still holding on to that 106 sort of levels.